Whatever happened to the pain and all the stuff that made us great? We grew up, got too busy. I couldn't write those angry things. Whatever happened to those shades of black? Sweet negativity and the verbal attacks. We fell in love
Okay, hey, I'm Rob Way here with Double Horns. I'm here with AKA COD, also known as Coley Ortiz Dersh. Dana, you guys all set? How was the night tonight, the show?
I thought we had a really good night tonight.
Yeah, it was a really good crowd. I'm going to shut this door.
Okay. That's Sandman in the background, Mark Sandman, the Hipposonics, early Hipposonics.
Is that?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Cool.
That's funny because he probably put that on because we were just
talking
talking
about
Hipposonics.
yeah.
So, how'd you guys come up with a name for your band? It's always Dana.
Through a war.
What were our other options? Do we have any? We figured,
Human Shield.
That was another one of my great ideas.
Human Shield was one?
Okay, all right. My memory is that we were joking around about COD COD, like
Cash on delivery.
Okay, that was one too. And then I don't know, it just came up. Oh, how about also known as COD or COD? It sort of just morphed through a series of jokes, right?
It took a lot of convincing for me. I never really liked the name. I was like, we're shooting ourselves.
The name. I know, but
I was like, we're shooting ourselves in the foot. We're giving ourselves a name that's hard to type, that's hard to say.
You know,
But let me tell you something. When I open my iTunes artist, the first thing that pops up is AKA COD.
alphabetically.
I'm not fighting it anymore. I'm just talking about my resistance, my initial resistance. That's what that was all about.
Well, I just got back from South America, and we have a big fan and our tour manager, Max Mazzella, and he refers to the band as Akakod.
That's how I've been saying it,
Akakod.
I was like,
First, I no.
When Central Europeans say it, it sounds legit. It
Yeah,
sounds
yeah.
like part of their language or something, which is probably why they're okay with it. I don't know, but Akakod.
No one blinks.
Akakod.
No one blinks. It's Akakod, of course. It's Akakod. It's Akakod.
Akakod.
What genre of music do you guys consider yourself?
Deceased.
What kind of Americana?
Americana?
No.
That's kind of what Ken Mo told me the other day. I'm more Americana.
Christian rock.
Christian rock, yes. I don't know, if you listen deeply to the lyrics, you'll hear a lot about Jesus
We
Christ.
put more people in church than the Baptists. They're running in the opposite direction.
I don't know, I think the music's great. The words might be
I've heard that. I've heard that before.
Oh, get that mesmerized.
But, labels are tough.
Nobody
really wants to be labeled, and yet, sometimes you have to be labeled, but I never really know what we are.
I think that
I mean, we're a rock band, essentially, right?
I mean, if people want to, put a label, that's fine, but genres, I don't think we look at genres. We look at what we do and how to make it as awesome as we can.
What genres are there that we could apply to?
Thousands of them. That's what's ridiculous.
Where would we fit?
Well, there are thousands because no band wants to be labeled, so they come up with their own thing, like sadcore,
sadcore,
screamo.
I saw a
I can't
sadcore
really
band
differentiate this screamo from thrash. But I do think, I think Mark Sandman was, low rock is but low rock really is specifically Morphine. There really is no other low rock band, So, we, occasionally I hashtag stuff related to us with low rock, because there is a connection there, but we don't, we don't sound like that, I don't really know what we are, other than a rock band that's very dynamic,
Briefly, just each of you explain to me tell me a little bit about your instruments and kind of how you chose that instrument. A lot of people are subject to brand loyalty. Others are just don't play pretty much anything. How do you guys feel about your instruments?
Okay, I'll start.
Okay.
Well, I don't really have any brand loyalty, but you know, a lot of people ask me about the Kubicki Factor bass. I play the fretless bass, which I took a lot of shit for through the '90s because it was about as uncool as you could possibly get. But it was a bass that I really am comfortable playing, and you know, it's like on one hand I have the Kubicki, which is, you know, it has a label, a brand, and then I have the slide basses, which are just whatever cheap tank of a Japanese bass that I can find for under $200 and not feel bad about modifying. You know,
something
that's really all I could say.
Sparkle adheres well to.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's the only sparkly slide bass I have. The rest of them don't look like that.
To be able to hold up the sparkle.
I call that the kitten bass because it has this, you know, tacky metallic leopard print, or an attempt at metallic.
It matches your personality.
Oh, okay. Is that an insult?
No. I'm saying most people. I have a guy with a big stand-up bass, and he rigs the thing up, look like a skeleton. I mean, everybody has their own.
Yeah, I'm not quite that flashy.
It's kind of an extension of the person.
What about you, Dan?
My instrument is a 1930s Conn baritone saxophone. Lady on the Bell, 12M series, rolled tone holes. And yes, I have brand loyalty. It's the only horn I've had in that baritone family. It's unique to me, and certainly has become my instrument, singularly. So, and then I dress that up with some effects with this band and other bands too, with using a Barkasberry transducer on the mouthpiece that leads to a series of guitar effects that allow me to do certain, you know, chorus effects or distortion or simulated.
Don't give all your secrets away.
You know. But then you got to throw in circular breathing on top of that, which then allows the instrument to take on a whole other kind of space.
Well,
you know, drummers do a lot of circular breathing.
I noticed that.
Yeah.
But you seem to have fun with it.
Oh, yeah, well, I always have fun with these guys. I mean, come on, Jesus Christ. They're doing all the work.
What about you, Larry? How's your rig?
Well, I'm not a drum geek. People ask me what kind of drums you play. I say red. You know, but I also have a green kit too. So it's two. But no,
those are complementary colors.
Do you ever mix them?
They are, and I do. I tried
Christmas.
mixing them one time, and it did not.
Christmas Eve.
I thought it would work. The red toms with the green kick. It didn't work.
You ever make mistakes?
You also, I've seen him play a Sonar Junior Pro too.
Oh yeah, sure.
There's,
I'll play anything. You know,
Ludwig
I mean,
Pro.
rhythm. You know, rhythm. It's not really so dependent on sounds. You know, you could play boxes and make it, you know, sound good. So like, I get things and I see what sounds they make and how it incorporates into, you know, whatever. And sometimes the thing, there's just no way I'm going to make that sound good. And it's rejected. But you know, for the most part, it's like, okay, these tones and how do they work with what's going on, and it could be great. Red, green, orange, whatever.
How has you guys' music evolved since you guys first?
Elvin Jones with the color stuff.
Sorry?
How has your music evolved since you guys first started playing together?
It's gotten better.
I love you guys, man. You guys are great.
Well, we just happen to have a chart here. And if you follow the chart, when we started in 2008, it was kind of at this point. And
it
just kept going up.
It was kind of red, and then it went into the,
and then it sort of went down for a while. It was kind of bleak. Then it went.
Oh, I remember that.
That was Here's the frame of that chart right here, and then it went below the frame of that chart. Like that's on the wall now, and then it's hitting down by the outlet where you plug in your VCR. Then it comes back up just recently, like spikes up just about
First time I met this guy, I had no idea this guy was a smart ass. It's hilarious. I love it. You're great. You're great.
You may want to reserve your commentary until the end.
Okay. Yeah. What image do you think your music conveys?
Black and white.
Black and white.
I would have to agree with that.
Wow.
That's very.
But I kind of I feel that way about a lot of the music that I do. I always like imagine things in black and white. But I mean, you know, how the audience or the listeners perceive it. I mean, you know, sky's the limit.
Right. Dana, before Morphine, you appeared in the Boston indie rock scene playing with a group called Three Colors.
That's what they say.
Love that band.
How was that experience?
How was it? Well, you know, I was
a different scene back then.
I was a young person trying to find a place to express himself.
Yeah.
And
I have one of your CDs.
These guys were a great band. They came up from Connecticut, and they were so it was Barry Stringfellow on drums, Max Moore on keyboards, Hub Moore on bass, and Chris Harford on guitar. And they were very post-punk, very influenced by Mission of Burma, The Jam, and
The Jam.
and they were great songs.
Yeah, totally.
And I remember they played, I was going to Mass College of Art in the 80s, and they played a party at Mass College of Art, and Chris was going there. He invited me up to play, and I had never been in a band before, really. I just sort of went up there and just blurted, you know, kind of distorted saxophone stuff, which was a very popular way to play the saxophone in 1980 at an art school. And then left the stage, and then continued to badger them to allow me to join them. I would show up and say, when are you guys going to rehearse again? You know, I'd sort of like to rehearse you guys. And you going to rehearse? Hey, you guys, when are you going to rehearse? That's when they had telephones. Hey, let me know when you guys are going to rehearse again. I'd like to jump in. Eventually, they couldn't avoid me anymore, and they invited me to the band. So it was one of the most developmental periods of my musical life, because I got to, I was completely immersed. You know, my whole life was about the band, and as it was for everybody in the band. Right. And I got to listen to, you know, three great songwriters in the very early parts of their lives, you know, working and creating music all the time, always writing, and really got an idea of what songwriting was about, and just from listening to Hub Moore, especially, and Chris Harford.
Monique, you met Mark Sandman and had a brief conversation with him. That kind of, after that conversation, you kind of moved to Cambridge area.
Kind of.
Packed all your stuff and just came here, and I'm kind of wondering if you could just speak about the context of that conversation.
May 6th, I believe, Morphine performed at the Trocadero in Philadelphia. Shortly before that show, I had just kind of stumbled upon their music in the soundtrack of Spanking the Monkey. And at that time, I was playing bass for a singer-songwriter, Shannon McNally, and she informed me shortly after I'd seen that film. I was telling her about this band that sounded so different, and I couldn't even really describe it to her other than like slinky and really dark and really sexy and just really infectious, you know. And she got back to me a couple weeks later and said, hey, that band you were telling me about, I saw they're playing in Philly. So, you know, basically I got tickets, I went to see them at the Troc with my friend Danielle, and it literally just changed my life. Like, it was as far as I remember, it was a sold-out show, and Medeski Martin Wood opened, and I had just never been to a show that, you know, my jaw just dropped. These guys came out on stage, there was no fancy lighting, no bullshit, no theatrics, just completely stripped down. It was just, you know, three guys on a stage, 2-string slide bass. I'd never seen anything like it. It blew my mind, and it changed my life. And, you know, I was just telling a couple folks after the show, like, I was never really a fangirl, but I felt at that moment I was like, I have to meet this band.
You're blinking. Is that good or bad?
No, it's been blinking. It's good.
So my friend and I ran around back as soon as they finished our encores. It was pouring rain. I went right up the ramp of the backstage area and introduced myself to Mark, which is something that I never do. I was like really a shy person, but I just felt like I had to do it. And I said, you know, I'm a bass player. I have a band. You know, like I'm sick of this scene. When are you guys playing again in your hometown or whatever? And he said, World's Fair, Central Square. So I got, like, literally the next day I bought a train ticket and I went up to Boston. I saw them play the World's Fair, and he remembered me and he told me, he said, listen, if you move up here, go over there. He was pointing to the Middle East restaurant, and he said, go in there and introduce yourself
Order a falafel.
to Joseph and tell him you need a job.
Get a grape leaf.
So, yeah, so like by September I had sold most of my belongings, and I packed my 72 Beetle with my bass rig and everything else and $500 in my pocket, and I moved to Cambridge and I worked as a cashier at the art supply store down the street, Pro Art, and I picked up another gig at the Middle East. I used to give you discounts. I used to give his wife all kinds of like beautiful printmaking paper, and I used to give Mark all kinds of pens.
It was a sad day when you left that place.
Hello, Pro Art. I ripped you off tremendously, and I gave all that shit to Morphine.
I did not That was your fault.
Yeah, I mean, and once I got up here, I was just like, I just wanted to immerse myself in it. I mean, it wasn't so much that I wanted to do what they were doing, but it just really resonated with me because I was a bass player and I wanted to do music that wasn't so traditional and wasn't driven by guitars.
Right.
So, you know, Morphine and Mark and his whole community of musicians, that whole scene really spoke to me because it was so different and it broke so many rules.
Right.
You know, and I just was so hungry to be a part of a community like that, you know? I mean, you know, it's not as if I didn't work for it, but you know, I would be a liar if I said that you know being connected to it didn't, you know, of course it helped, of course, you know.
And you have a band, Alien Knife Fight?
Yeah.
What kind of, like, how does that differ from what you're doing?
From Jack.
Well, I mean, it's considerably like heavier. It's more punk, I'd say. And it's my husband and I, and he plays drums. I play the slide bass and the fretless bass, and that actually kind of grew out of our mutual love for the desert rock scene, like you know, Queens of the Stone Age and those guys. What we do is kind of, for lack of a better way to put it, a kind of a marriage between the desert rock sound and the low rock sound.
Right. So Larry, you were also known for having involvements in other bands, experimental bands, Concussion Ensemble, Bad Art Ensemble. What the hell?
Binary System.
Binary System. Let me set the record straight. Okay, Bad Art Ensemble is more like a club.
Okay.
Where people sort of show up at the Plow and, you know, we play. Concussion Ensemble.
Do you guys still do that?
Oh, yeah. Oh, last Wednesday, every month. Concussion Ensemble was an awesome band. Awesome band to be a drummer in, because the drummers were the you know, like the front line,
right?
You know, and everybody else was behind. That was so much fun.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, great. The Happiness Exit Festival 2013, big. All the videos are out there now, and I wanted to talk to you a little bit about that. That was in Novi Sad, Serbia. Is that right? Did I pronounce
Yeah,
that?
the video is Novi Sad, yeah.
How was that experience, and are you excited to be playing again today? I mean, that was probably one of the most important gigs you've ever done, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, I came back from that trip feeling like oddly depressed because, you know, we went to Europe and we have a substantial fan base there, and when we did the record Happiness, we put so much work into it, and there was just a lot of, like, it was very emotional, at least for me. Like, it was just a very a roller coaster ride getting that record done, and then when we put it out, nobody cared, and it was mostly because it was 2008, and it was like there was like a lot of financial collapse, or like labels that had gone bankrupt, and like people weren't signing bands or whatever, and we went out on a few short tours in the U.S. and it was like we were lucky if we played to 20 people on most nights, you know, and it was very demoralizing. And then we go over to Europe, and it's like, you know, and it was great. And then I came home, and it was like, you know,
back in the fight.
It was just like suddenly I just plunged into this deep depression, because like here we are back in the States, nobody fucking cares about us. You know what I mean? Nobody cares.
Exactly.
And so it really, the whole experience gave me really mixed feelings. Like, I mean, I want to get back to Europe. Right. We want to go back to Europe, you know? But it's interesting how music and the entertainment industry is. It's like if you're a big pop artist, sure, you can tour the world and fill arenas and stuff. If you're an indie rock musician or band, it's like it's pretty much common knowledge that you're going to be far more appreciated in Europe than the U.S.
Well,
you know, unless you're on a label and you have, you know, it's just weird. Like, I don't really know how to answer this question, but I will say this: like, I get emails from people literally every week asking when we're touring or asking when I'm touring with any of my projects. And when I say like I don't know because we're broke, we don't even have enough money, we don't even have enough support to do a substantial crowdsourcing thing. You know, like when I say that to people, they can't believe it. You know, and I'm like, well, this is the music industry. Hello. You know, like, and there's plenty of shit bands that get lots of money behind them and play to thousands of people, and you know, here we are, you know, playing our friend's place in Allston, and doing a handful of shows in Europe. I mean, if somebody, you know, it's not that we don't want to do it. You know, we would love to tour. We'd love to tour Europe. We'd love to tour the U.S. But the powers that be, the people that make that shit happen, are not interested in us. You know, and it's not that we haven't tried. You know?
So I was gonna ask Dave. I'll ask you guys. What's your ultimate direction of the band?
Well, I mean, at this point, it's like we get together when we can. You know?
I mean, it's kind of like this basically.
I mean, it's hard to say what the direction of it is right now, because this is just a one-off show that we did. You know, if somebody approached us and said, "I want to help you. I want to finance a record, or I want to help get you guys on the road," will we do it? Fuck yeah. You know. But we're not. Neither of us are in a position to finance a project. You know, I mean, it's just the reality.
Well, that brings out the next question. Like, what advice would you give other bands that are either starting out or trying to?
I don't think I should give anybody any advice, because I'm almost 44 and I'm still struggling. You know, like, I'm following my heart. My life could be a lot worse, but I mean, are we successful? I guess it depends on what your definition of success is. You know, I mean, we're not touring like we'd want to be. Like we're not currently making another record.
The advice, it depends on what you're looking for.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, the advice I would give the bands is just do your fucking best. You know,
do what you love. Try to enjoy yourself.
And let things fall where they do. I mean, if it's a band of people in their 20s. Well, then I would say play every frigging gig you can. You know, but it's a different time when you're there. And I did that. We all did that.
I would say don't become so obsessed with social media, because when you do that, you look like a fucking asshole. You look like a douchebag. You know.
Hey, who's this guy?
Fucking douchebag.
Hey, one more question. A couple more actually. This is it.
Alright, this is it.
Alright,
we gotta go.
If you could tell your younger self anything, any advice or anything like that about music industry, life in general, and how what would you guys, your younger self?
don't worry about it. That's what I would tell myself.
I would tell myself, keep your emotions in check.
Yeah.
Try not to be too emotional. Channel your emotions into your songwriting, but don't get too emotional with your band and the people around you.
Dana.
Keep a lot of weed on you.
Yeah. Don't listen to anybody's advice, especially from your older self.
Yeah.
Or your parents.
Or your parents. Lastly, is there anyone that you guys would like to acknowledge or offer, you know, any for like helping you guys in your career, whether it be financial or
I'd like to
support
acknowledge my dad, Ed Cawley. He's a painter living in Ipswich. My mother, Donna Cawley, who also living in Ipswich together. And my family, who have always supported me and always have believed in what I do.
that's
my wife and my family. Absolutely.
Are you looking at me for that? Well, you know, I have a lot of things. My girlfriend Rachel is just there with me the whole time.
In fact, she's right there tapping her foot going,
Yeah.
come on,
Come
we're
on,
gonna
let's
go.
go. We gotta go to the
All right.
house.
Here.
Lastly,
And my mom,
Okay.
who like took me around in her friggin' station wagon when I was, 14 with my drums, and she was like, "Why didn't you play the piccolo?" Yeah,
Because I'd be beat up right now if I played the piccolo.
You know, the piccolo.
Too many for me
I don't
to
know if
acknowledge.
that would work into our sound. I don't know.
It takes a tribe, and especially when you're a crazy loose cannon like me. I mean, I could thank my parents, I could thank my husband, my friends. Like, there are too many people
There's too
that have
many.
taken up, that have put up with a lot of shit from me.
Yeah, there's
that have
just
helped
too many.
me over the years, including
I mean,
you guys,
we've all been doing this a
including
long
both
time.
of you. You know, it's my list of thanks would be a mile long. You know.
Hey, I want to thank Dana Coley, Monique Ortiz, and Larry Durst for inviting me to come and do this interview. I had a really great time, guys. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
We're here with Rob Way, and we just did an interview.
And Rob is awesome.
Rob Way, all the way.
All the way.
COD.
AKA CODW.
Sesh.
Let's not let the door hit our asses on the way out.
And we'll see you in 3 years.
Yes. Thank you very much, guys. Appreciate it. Nice seeing you again.
Rob, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Don't you feel famous when the little things nag? Everything's dirty, coffee tastes bad. The corner store inside Gate B, looking for a face in the magazine. Magic forest or a heated home, just 15